So I finished in December and I did the urban retreat in January. And I was really amazed at the effect it had, just changing a few things about my life and how I did things and my habits just for that week. But what a massive effect it had on my practice, my level of inspiration, my mental state, and my connection with the other people in the Sangha, actually. And actually, it was on the basis of that I decided to become a mitra and throw myself into my Dharma life, and I didn't look back from there. So I think that was a big turning point for me. So I'm really happy to be involved in presenting this for you. And going away on residential retreats is really important, and urban retreats don't take the place of that. And definitely do that if you can. And they give us a particular opportunity to deepen our practice. But I think urban retreats give us a different sort of opportunity to deepen our practice. Whereas sometimes we can get into the habit of thinking, well, my practice is sort of over there, when it's quiet, when I've got time, when I'm out in the beautiful countryside being all, meditative. But actually, most of our lives isn't like that. And urban retreats give us the opportunity to investigate how fully we can bring our practice and integrate it into our actual everyday life. And it's really surprising that with a bit of care and attention and a few adjustments, how we can weave our practice much more fully into our everyday lives. So I really recommend you engaging with this week and this process as fully as you can, and really see what happens, because I'm sure there will be fruits, and you might not even expect what the fruits are, but there will be fruits. And hopefully you'll have something of the experience that I did. So over the next 90 minutes, Knowlton Towers, over the next 90 minutes, Vadanya and I are going to present some ideas and structures and things that you can use to really deepen your practice over the week, and how we can do that together as a community, as a retreat community. So you will definitely need a pen and paper to hand. So if anyone does not have a pen and paper at this moment, even if you're at Alton Towers, go and get one, because you will definitely need to write some stuff down. So I'm just going to scroll through. Wave at me if you need to go away for a minute. I want to make sure there's some in front of every camera before we carry on. Okay, Leah Matthews. It's like a little dash to the thing. Okie dokie, right, over to Vadanya.
Hello everybody. So to make an urban retreat happen, to make it different from our normal life, we have to make some decisions about things that we're going to do differently. So what I'm going to do now is give you some suggestions about that. Can I just check that my sound is okay?
Good.
Okay. So I'm going to make some suggestions. You'll get some more ideas as we go along, but I'm going to suggest some, we keep calling them precepts, decisions about what you're going to change to make your daily life more like the retreat experience. And we're going to provide you with a list, which will be up on the Slack group and also just on our screen while we have a sort of think about it later. But I'm going to start with one that's not on the list, but very, very important. So if you don't already have one, make a shrine in your living space. Make a shrine in your living space. Ideally with a figure, an image of the Buddha on it. So create a beautiful shrine and a comely space that focuses on that shrine, where you can practice, where you can meditate. There's something deeply symbolic about having a shrine in our living space. It symbolizes the fact that the Buddha is there in our lives, in our space. Something higher, this higher dimension is manifesting in our normal life. So make a shrine. And if you've already got a shrine, well, beautify it, refresh it and beautify it. And then when we meditate or do other things during this retreat, so take a formal attitude to that shrine. It represents the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha in our life, in our space. So how about bowing to it before we start our practice, before we meditate, and afterwards, maybe light some candles, burn incense if you are okay with that. So make the shrine a sort of bit of a focal point. So that's the first one. So Another thing, of course, that happens when we go on retreat, one of the main things that happens when we go on retreat is we do more meditation than usual. So my suggestion is to meditate every day in the morning, if possible. If you already have a regular practice where you do that, how about meditating twice a day? I mean, you can stretch that if you like, but how about meditating twice a day if you've got a regular practice? You could do 2 in the morning, you could do 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. And how about we extend the time of our meditations? Flex our meditation muscles a little bit. So when we go on retreat, pretty much the bare minimum that we'll get in terms of meditation on a retreat is 2 40-minute meditations first thing in the morning, maybe a 40 and a 30-minute meditation first thing in the morning, and then 1 or 2 meditations spread out through the day. Well, you may not be able to get that much because you can't fit it into your normal routine, but move in that direction, more meditation. And then in addition to that meditation, how about, well, this is a strong suggestion, doing a short devotional practice each morning. And we're going to suggest that we're going to offer a modified version of the dedication ceremony for that. So where we're dedicating each day to the 3 jewels, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and to our practice. And I think that's really important. If we don't somehow start the day by setting our direction for the day, then it's likely to just become like every other day. If we want it to be different, we have to decide for it to be different and stay in touch with that. We'll say a lot more about that later, actually. So do the dedication practice along with your meditation in the morning, and then schedule in more of one activity that you know helps you to be in a positive state of mind. So time outdoors, listening to music, creative activities, reading Dharma, reading poetry. What works for you? What works for you? Schedule in more of that. I'm going to suggest that you sort of make yourself a bit of a diary where you put in what you're going to do when, but schedule in more of that. And then alongside that, cut out or ration one activity that creates a distracted, busy mind. We can get very, very addicted to this distracted, busy mind, especially in our world. So phone and screen use are obvious choices. So you might decide to avoid screens in the evenings and do something like one of the things I just mentioned instead, or to use your phone only as a phone. And not to use it as a source of distraction. So something, when we go on retreat, actually, when the retreat centers I go to, you hand in your phone, just, that's it. Well, okay, you've got a normal life to live, but you probably won't be able to do that, but really ration or restrict it, or it could be something else. It could not be phone or screen use if that's not an issue for you. And then get some exercise every day. I think that's really underestimated how important it is to get some exercise. Our bodies are built for moving. If we don't move, tension builds up, and then it's difficult to meditate. We get distracted, stressed, etc., anxious. Get some exercise every day. Most people do that when they go on retreat. It's in the country, you go for a walk. Do other things as well, yoga, tai chi, all sorts. And then penultimate, set a bedtime that allows you to meditate in the morning, especially if you're like me and you tend to get up to go to bed late. Set a bedtime that will allow you to do the meditations you have decided to do in the morning. That's not a problem for everybody, but for some people, that's a really serious thing to do because you're not going to be able to meditate if you go to bed at your usual time and then wake up tired. And then finally, stay in touch with, I'm going to tell you the words, your Dharma buddies. We're going to talk about that later. One of the ways we support ourselves through this retreat is to keep in touch with other members of the Sangha, report in, tell them how we're getting on, tell them when we fail, get back on our horse, talk about problems, encourage each other, etc., etc. So we'll have an opportunity to form into these buddy groups as we go on. If you want to be allocated to one, you can be. Otherwise, form one with your friends. So yeah, write down some of the things that you'll do, and in a moment we'll get an opportunity to just reflect on that for 5 minutes or so, and then we'll go into groups, and in the groups you'll get an opportunity to discuss it and firm things up, get new ideas, etc. Probably we're aiming for some sort of almost diary where you say, you know, I'll go for a walk at this time on Wednesday, I'll do yoga at that time on Thursday, something like that in the end. But we're sort of working towards that. But what we've got now is 5 minutes to just have a little reflect on what I've been saying. So we could have these suggestions up on screen. Could we, Ariel, is that going to work? Plus, of course, the one about creating a shrine. Oh, it says that there.
Okie dokie. So can you hear me? Great, fantastic. So that's roughly 5 minutes. So hopefully you've had a chance to at least get started, like deciding which of those ideas or which other ideas you're interested in putting into place this week. So what we're going to do now is go into groups. So I'm assuming Aridas is going to allocate us and just do that. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And I just want to clarify, this isn't a buddy group, because some people have been messaging about that, but this is a different thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is just a chance to chat for a few minutes about our ideas and help firm them up. Buddy groups are going to be a separate thing. Thanks very much for clarifying that, Aridas. That's great. So each group's going to have a slightly more experienced leader, and that the role of that leader is just to make sure everyone gets a chance to say something about their thoughts, and also maybe to help guide everybody towards suggestions which are quite practical and doable for them, because it's easy to get a bit carried away. I'm going to do this, this and this and this, but actually we've got our lives to live, so we need to put things in place we can actually achieve. Otherwise we just get a bit depressed and despondent, so we need to make it achievable. Okay, so do note down these ideas as well, so that you don't forget them. And the groups will be about 15 minutes long with a 5-minute warning before the end. So yeah, enjoy your groups.
Vadanya, you're unmuted now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I hope you all had a chance to decide on some changes you're going to make for this retreat. But we're often not very good at carrying out our resolutions. I mean, they say that most New Year's resolutions are broken within about 3 weeks or something. We often fall back into our own patterns, our old usual patterns, through habit or lack of mindfulness or something. So what we're going to do now is introduce you to a powerful and practical traditional teaching about turning our intentions into realities, which is called the 5 forces. And we'd invite you to use these 5 forces during this retreat. There'll be a sort of handout, a sort of summary of the 5 forces up on the Slack group that you can use to refer to. But the first of the 5 forces is called the force of motivation. To make anything happen, we need to want it. We're really not very good at doing things we just think we should do. So to make our retreat happen, to make our life different from normal, we need to connect with our motivation to do that. And in any one day, we need to connect with our motivation to do that at the beginning of the day. So we suggest you start each day with a short practice to set your direction for that day. That's in addition to the meditation. Perhaps at the end of the meditation, do something to set your direction for the day. What we're suggesting, as most people are going to use, is this amended dedication ceremony, which dedicates the day to our practice. And that will be up on the Slack group in text, and also Dharmamayi, chanting it both straight through and in call and response. So you can use any of those, I think. Is that right? Yes. You could use other things. If you're a mitra, you could use, and you're given the practice, you could use the mitra practice. It might be a good idea for everyone to chant the refuges and precepts if you want to. Anyway, but so start every day by using one of those practices, probably after your meditation, to set your intentions for the day. That's the first. So, but it's not much use setting a direction in the morning if we forget about it by lunchtime. So we also need the second of the 5 forces, which Dharmamayi is going to tell us about. But that's, first of all, I think we were going to allow you with a minute. I've forgotten about this.
Or so.
We're allowing you with a minute to think. And then I'll say that again.
And then write stuff down. Think and write.
Yeah, think and write stuff down if you want to. You'll have time to write stuff down later, but write stuff, you know, what you're going to do first thing in the morning. It shouldn't take you very long to write that. You can just write dedication. One other thing that you could do is just think about how good it would be to be in a good state, and how bad it would feel not to carry through your intentions.
Okay, I'm trying to see whether people look like they're still writing. Okay, this is great. It's like almost like being in the same room, but not quite. Okay, great. So there are 5 forces. So moving on to the second force, which is the force of familiarization. So often, I think, in fact, we can really want to do something very genuinely, and we can really decide, yeah, right, I'm going to do this thing. And then we don't do it. Maybe that's just me. I think that's all of us. I think we don't do it. And why don't we do it is because we just forget. We're in habits of behaving in different ways. We can live quite distracted, quite dispersed lives, and our best intentions just get lost in the hurly-burly of day-to-day life. So we need to find ways to keep our decisions in mind that we've made. So we need reminders to remind ourselves to keep in mind what we've decided we're going to do throughout the day and throughout the week. So these reminders, they can take all sorts of different forms. So I'm going to lay on you a load of suggestions. So first of all, a good one is you can put post-it notes in weird places. So with kind of inspirational messages to yourself. So like on a mirror, say, or on the cupboard near where you get your tea, or on the screen of your laptop, or in your steering wheel of your car, or weird places like that. So you're really going to see them. They're not going to blend in. They're going to be right in your face. So that's a really good one. You could also introduce more Buddha images into your life. So like if you're going to work at the moment, you could have one there. Or if you're working from home, you could set your workplace up with some more Buddhas around you. You can also use your phone. So we tend to think phones are always a bad thing, but we could use the opportunity our phones could help us. So for example, we could set special alarms on our phone, like mindfulness bells on our phone, like so we can stop and take a moment, so we're not just rushing from one thing to another. We can change our ringtone. I like this one. You could change it just to any old different thing. You could change it to a mantra or some like Buddhist thing. You could change your screensaver to something, to like a Buddha or a Bodhisattva image, or a picture of the Sangha or your Buddhi group or something. So that's your phone. You could also make arrangements to meet with your Buddhi group and send messages to each other so that you can remind each other that you're on retreat. So that's that. You could also wear special things, do different things to yourself. Like one year I just wore blue entirely for the whole week. So, or you can wear like a particular sort of clothing that reminds you you're on retreat. You could wear like special jewelry, like a special ring, or if you normally wear a ring, you could move it to your other hand. Could wear a particular pendant or something. You can paint your nails a weird colour. I think Amoghamanksa painted his pink one year, which was very excellent. So you could do something like that. So really, the more bizarre and out there, the better, because if it is a bit random and out there, then you'll really notice it and it will really remind you, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be on retreat this week. Okay, so I think that's a few ideas, and that, you know, there's endless amounts of things you could do to remind yourself you're on retreat. So just spend a minute or so thinking about what you might do this week, and maybe pick like a couple of things that you would do this week to remind yourself that you're on retreat, and write them down.
Okay, so that brings us to the third of our 5 forces, called, slightly weirdly, the force of the white seed. And what that meant traditionally was doing a good action, some good action that we undertake, and then dedicate the merit from that action to the success of our undertaking, to the success of our retreat. So something like spending many hours chanting a mantra, or doing some sort of all-night puja, or making a big gift in some way. And then dedicating the merit, the spiritual oomph from that to the success of our retreat, or to the success of our enterprise. And we could see it that way. That's a valid way of seeing it if that works for you. And if you'd like to make a big gift to the Buddhist Center, that would be very welcome. But we could also see the white seed. We tend to slightly reinterpret the white seed often as a sort of any unusual or striking action, even shocking action, that, as it were, sends a message to our unconscious that now this is different. Something different is happening. And many of us will have a sort of experience of that if we think about it. When we go on retreat, especially perhaps if you go on a solitary retreat, you go somewhere quite remote, you've got a lot of preparation to do. You sort of think yourself into the right mode, and then you've got to travel to somewhere really quite remote, and even just going to a Buddhist center, going to a retreat center. It's all different, and that sort of sends a message to our unconscious that this is different. So now we're ready to be in a different mode. Well, we're not going anywhere, but we still need somehow to tell our depths that something different is going on. Otherwise, they'll just carry on with their same patterns. So for their white seed, people have done things, shocking things that says, shocks us out of our ruts, like doing a puja at night in a graveyard. Or I think people have dyed their hair pink or blue, or their beard pink or blue. Or Amoghavanksa's famous painting his nails pink, shocking pink, could have functioned either as a reminder or as a white seed. It's something that's something different's going on here. The wackier, the better. And it can sort of obviously overlap with the reminders that Dharmamayi was talking about. So something weird. Well, if that is a bit too weird, we could also see the white seed as an action that presumes the success of our undertaking. So something like the smoker who throws away all the ashtrays and the lighters. So it could be, give your phone to somebody else for safekeeping for the week. Or pack your TV away in a box and put it at the back of a cupboard, covered in all sorts of stuff. Something that presumes the success of one of your precepts, one of your resolutions. So think of a white seed, and you might get some ideas when we go into groups. But yeah, think of a white seed. So we'll have a minute to. Well, no, we won't have a minute to think about that. It's a bit pointless, really. We're going to have a break now. We're going to have a break now. So we're going to break for 15 minutes. And in that break, think of your white seed. You might have some other thoughts about the other forces we've been talking about. And then we'll come back and Dharmamayi will tell us about the force of destruction. 15 minutes.
destroying demons, which sounds a bit intense, but basically what it means is we just need to be aware of what it is that's going to get in the way of us doing what we want to do this week, and have strategies in place so that we can deal with these obstacles before they arise or when they arise. I was thinking that I sort of like to divide these into sort of two categories, and one of them is sort of more inner obstacles, so things that I do myself that I know, or habits I've got that I know are going to obstruct myself. So one example that I could think of in this case is that if you say you're going to get up to meditate early every morning, but you know for yourself that you're rubbish in the mornings, you're really sleepy and you hate getting out of bed early, that is going to be an obstacle you are going to have to overcome. Then you're going to have to think of some way to overcome that obstacle. Another potential obstacle is that we might have a habit, and I know this applies sometimes to me and probably to a lot of people, is that when we're a bit bored or distracted or maybe feeling something uncomfortable, we just reach for the phone. And that is a bit of a security blanket. It's a very common thing these days, and that is potentially going to be quite an obstacle for us, that habit. And yeah, as Vadanya said, if we were on a residential retreat, we wouldn't have to deal with that obstacle, but because we're choosing to be on an urban retreat, we do have to deal with that obstacle, and it's going to be a very real obstacle for a lot of us. So yeah, we have to think about how we're going to manage that, because it will arise. It's just about being sensible, knowing ourselves, knowing the conditions we're going to be in, and knowing and having some ideas about what we can do to prevent getting derailed. We could also think in terms of more external obstacles. So we might know, oh, this week I've got a really busy day on Wednesday, or I've got this difficult phone conversation, or whatever, something externally to us, some conditions that are arising which may be unusual, that are going to cause a possible obstacle, might throw us off course in our retreat. So we know that about our week. So that's another thing we're going to have to think, in the face of that busy day, am I still, how will I still keep up my meditation practice? How will I still keep in touch with my buddy group, and so on? So yeah, so now just an opportunity to spend a minute then thinking about what obstacles might come up for you this week, either internally or externally, and write down some strategies that you might employ to deal with those, to head them off at the pass. And it's also worth saying that this isn't just a thing you're going to do now and then you're not allowed to think about this again. So obviously obstacles might arise that you're not anticipating, and when they do arise, you can go back to this and you can think again and make further plans about how you might head that obstacle off for the next time it arises, the next day or the next few days or so on. So yeah, just take a minute to write some stuff down.
Okay. Okay, so our fifth and final force is called the force of aspirational prayer. And that probably sounds quite weird. When we first started doing these retreats, we were really nervous about including this force. But on the very first retreat, what we found, in fact, was that many people told us it was the most useful thing they got from it. And that's continued ever since, really. So what is it? What's it about? What's this force of aspirational prayer? Well, it can be a bit difficult for us as we are now to change us as we are now. It's as though we are the way we are because at some level we want to be that way. And we live the life we live because at some level we want to live that life. So to make positive changes, it can be a great help to invoke something beyond ourselves, something, if you like, higher or deeper than ourselves as we are now. And you can see that as a higher part of ourselves, our sort of true selves, or whatever, higher, deep, our heights or our depths. Or you can see it as an external power. And really, it doesn't make much difference. You can see it either way. And ultimately, the Dharma would tell us that you can't really separate those two anyway. And yeah, the word prayer might sound very off-putting. Surely Buddhists don't pray. But what that means is a way of focusing our positive volition, focusing our intention. May this come about, may this come about, and aligning and reinforcing that with something stronger than our own willpower. So invoking something higher, deeper than ourselves. Mantra chanting can be a very good way of putting in touch with something beyond our usual self. We can do this out loud or silently in our head, and we could make that part of our morning practice along with the meditation and dedication ceremony or any other practice that we do. And we can focus, while we do that, we can focus on our desire to put our precepts into action to keep up positive states of mind. So we're chanting the mantra and sort of putting the force of that behind our intention. And chanting a mantra can also be something that we do at other times as well, to keep during the day, to keep ourselves in touch with something higher, if you like, or to keep ourselves in touch with what's best in us, to reconnect with our aspiration on the bus, wherever, whenever we have a spare moment, we can chant the mantra. So we're taking the historical Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, as our patron for this retreat. And you can listen to Dharmamayi chanting the Shakyamuni mantra very, very beautifully on the Slack site for this retreat, if you don't know the mantra. Occurs to me that perhaps we should provide the words for the mantra, which we haven't done, but maybe we'll put that up on Slack. But yeah, you can hear Dharmamayi chanting the mantra. So you can chant or listen to the Shakyamuni mantra, or if there's another figure you feel a strong connection with, you could use their mantra instead. So that's the force of aspirational prayer, sort of connecting with something a bit beyond our normal personality, and as it were, invoking that extra bit of oomph behind the changes that we want to make, getting some help from something beyond our normal personality. So spend maybe a few moments thinking about your force of destruction, what's going to blow you off course. You've already done that, and think about how you use mantra. Think about how you use mantra on this retreat. Or how you'll use the force of aspirational prayer generally on this retreat. So devotional practices you could bring in. Many people choose, if they're a bit more experienced, choose to do a puja, for example, in the evening. So, and doing a practice in the evening where we just sort of think what happened in the day and sort of get some perspective on what happened in the day. How did I do today? You could combine that with some sort of puja, mantra chanting, bringing as much of that as possible. So how are you going to do that? How are you going to use mantra or devotional practice on this retreat?
Okay. Great. So I hope you found that helpful and you've got some good ideas. So now I want to just spend a bit of time going through the different resources that we've got for the week, and all the ways we can connect. So as a retreat community, so first I want to talk about Slack. So I am resistant to new technologies, and everybody, and I was a bit like, oh god, not another new technology. But actually it's actually not complicated at all. So I can reassure anybody who's thinking, oh god, not a new technology. It's fine. It's really, really easy. It's like a combination of WhatsApp and Facebook, and sort of easier than both, so you'll be fine. And what it is, it's a forum where we can come together and have a conversation, access resources, and behave a bit like a retreat board would in a retreat. So anybody you've all signed up here, I think. Is there anybody who's not signed up?
Yeah, a few people. I've just put the link in the
okay, cool. So anyone who signed up will have got an email with the link there, and you can go follow that link either on your phone or on the computer, and just follow the instructions, and you'll find yourself in the relevant group. And there's a group specifically for people who are on the urban retreat there. And on that group we can post things to each other, to everybody else, and to specific individuals as well. And we were really hoping that people might feel inspired to, oh sorry, my dog's playing with a squeaky toy. Oh god, what bad timing. This is a slick operation. Yeah, so we're hoping people might want to post pictures of their shrines or their white seas or things that they've done. It's like something on a thingy where you send videos off, isn't it? Yeah, so feel free to post like comments about how your week's going, photographs of weird things you've done. Edward could post a picture of his head. If you decide to wear weird things, you can post those. Yeah, so have some fun. Like, let it be a forum for community this week. Vadanya and I will also be posting short daily videos, which like thoughts for the day, which hopefully will be they'll be very, very short videos, so hopefully they'll be inspirational, and if not, at least amusing. And if you have some sort of Slack meltdown, then you can contact. What should people do if they're having Slack meltdown, Ariadasa?
Today during the urban retreat. Well, this week during the urban retreat. I'll be checking my emails. So you can email me at ariadasa@sheffieldbuddhistcentre.org. I'll put it in the chat, and I'll be checking them, and I will be helping everyone.
Oh, bless you. Thank you very much. That's awesome. Okay, so also if you access the Slack, you will get PDFs of the resources that we've been through today. So the 5 forces, the precepts. There's also recordings of the dedication ceremony in unison and in call and response, and the Shak community mantra. So you find all those things, and they're pinned there, so it's quite easy to see them. So I'd really request and encourage everyone to make use of the Slack group this week, because it's a real opportunity to come together as a Sangha, I think, in a way that we wouldn't perhaps have if we weren't using this format. So actually it might be a really nice opportunity. So yeah, let's really use it as best we can and have a bit of fun with it, and we could see what happens. So have I forgotten anything important, Ariadasa, about Slack that I need to say?
No, other than if you've taken on a precept to use technology less and you feel like it's going to disturb your life more, you can very easily turn off the notifications to Slack and just check it when you want to. And if you can't work it out, then again, email me.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thanks very much. Okay, so that's Slack, first of all. Second is buddy groups. So we've kind of tossed this term around. You might not know what we're talking about. So basically, a buddy group is an opportunity to come together with other people who are also on the retreat. And kind of form a little group for that week, be in touch with each other during the week, support each other, help each other out, inspire each other, that sort of thing. So you might want to arrange to meet, and so in a minute, maybe Ariadasa, you could post your poll when we've there'll be a little moment, I'll tell you when. So Ariadasa's going to post a poll, so if you'd like us to allocate you a buddy group, so perhaps you don't know anybody else on this retreat, but you do want to be in a buddy group, then just say yes and we'll just allocate you to a buddy group. Or you might like, you can see who else is on the retreat, you might like to arrange buddy groups yourselves with people that you already know. So either of those is good. And you might want to meet through Zoom, you might want to meet in person, but I would encourage you to meet and communicate with each other, because the great thing about Sangha, isn't it, that, you know, there might be one day that you're feeling really uninspired, but your mates are feeling really inspired and they can support you and guide you and help you, and then the next day it will be the other way around and you'll be the inspired one and they'll be feeling all like, oh god, it's too hard, and you'll be inspiring them. So we can really sort of carry each other through this retreat together. And I think particularly at the moment, with it being this kind of you know, a lot of us not seeing as much of people as normal, we might end up feeling like we're on retreat on our own, but we're really not. We are on this retreat together. So buddy groups can really give us that sense that we are on retreat together. We're not on our own here. So that's buddy groups. And finally, I just want to say about Sangha Night. Sangha Night's great. Come to Sangha Night this week. Connect with the wider Sangha, get a bit of an injection of Dharma sort of midway through the retreat when you might be starting to feel a bit jaded or something. So yeah, come to Sangha Night. So those are all the resources and things that I can think of. Also, Aryadasa, it might be worth saying, Aryadasa is leading a meditation every morning in the tent, which would be a really good thing to go to if you can get to the centre. I think at 7:30 each morning, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant, fantastic. Okay, so hope all that's clear. A lot of information there, so yeah, do go back onto Slack to review it if you've forgotten stuff. If we're signed up to the retreat, do we have to sign up again to attend Sangha Night in person? Yes you do. Great, thanks for that question. Okay, so that's all the input you're going to get now. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to transfer over to my shrine and I'm going to lead us in a dedication ceremony to officially kick off the retreat. So you might want to also move to your shrines, but first of all, Aryadasa is going to post a poll. So this is your opportunity to say whether you'd like to be allocated. You're smiling, is that okay?
Yes, this is a very sophisticated poll where you type yes.
Excellent. Yes, so type yes if you want to be allocated in a buddy group. So what, on the chat room, on the chat you mean?
Yeah, on the chat, yeah.
Okay, there's your poll. So if you want to be allocated to a buddy group, go on to chat now and post yes. Excellent. So I'm going to go to my shrine now. So in just a minute or two, we're going to start the dedication ceremony. You don't have to move unless you particularly want to, because we are going to be doing this retreat in the midst of our everyday lives, after all. But I'm going to just go to my shrine now. So see you in a minute. Okay, can you still all hear me? Brilliant. And I'm just going to do a bell sound check. Can you hear this? Hey, excellent. Okay, great. So I'm going to lead the dedication ceremony in call and response. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to say the line, and then Aryadasa is going to unmute himself and he's going to do the response. So you can respond in your own homes on mute along with Aryadasa. So that's how it's going to work. So I'll lead the dedication ceremony straight through. We won't do the refuges and precepts. And when we get to the end, I'll start the Shak mantra and I'll just chant that for a short while, just so that we can all hear that and you can join in, obviously, at home. And I'll chant that for just a short time and then I'll bring the practice to a close, and that will be the end of the afternoon. And I'm imagining that we might then unmute ourselves at the end. You might unmute everybody and people can just say hello and goodbye to each other at the end. Yeah, cool. Okay, apologise in advance if I get any weird dog stuff going on in the background. Dedication ceremony. We dedicate this retreat to the three jewels.
We dedicate this retreat to the three jewels.
To the Buddha.
To the Buddha.
The ideal of enlightenment to which we aspire.
The ideal of enlightenment to which we aspire.
To the Dharma.
to the Dharma,
the path of the teaching which we follow,
the path of the teaching which we follow,
to the Sangha,
to the Sangha,
the spiritual fellowship with one another which we enjoy.
the spiritual fellowship with one another which we enjoy.
Here may no idle word be spoken.
Here may no idle word be spoken.
Here may no unquiet thought disturb our minds.
Here may no unquiet thought disturb our minds.
To the observance of the precepts,
To the observance of the precepts,
we dedicate this retreat.
we dedicate this retreat.
To the practice of meditation,
To the practice of meditation,
we dedicate this retreat.
we dedicate this retreat.
To the development of wisdom,
To the development of wisdom,
we dedicate this retreat.
we dedicate this retreat.
To the attainment of enlightenment,
To the attainment of enlightenment,
we dedicate this retreat.
we dedicate this retreat.
Though in the world outside there is strife,
Though in the world outside there is strife,
here may there be peace.
here may there be peace.
Though in the world outside there is hate,
Though in the world outside there is hate,
here may there be love.
here may there be love.
Though in the world outside there is grief,
Though in the world outside there is grief,
here may there be joy.
here may there be joy.
Not by the chanting of the sacred scriptures,
Not by the chanting of the sacred scriptures,
not by the sprinkling of holy water,
not by the sprinkling of holy water,
but by our own efforts towards enlightenment,
but by our own efforts towards enlightenment,
we dedicate this retreat.
we dedicate this retreat.
Around this mandala,
Around this mandala,
this sacred spot,
this sacred spot,
may the lotus petals of purity open.
may the lotus petals of purity open.
Around this mandala,
Around this mandala,
this sacred spot,
this sacred spot,
may the Vajra wall of determination extend.
may the Vajra wall of determination extend.
Around this mandala,
Around this mandala,
this sacred spot,
this sacred spot,
may the flames that transmute samsara into nirvana arise.
may the flames that transmute samsara into nirvana arise.
Here seated,
Here seated,
here practicing,
here practicing,
may our mind become Buddha.
may our mind become Buddha.
May our thought become Dharma.
May our thought become Dharma.
May our communication with one another be Sangha.
May our communication with one another be Sangha.
For the happiness of all beings.
For the happiness of all beings.
For the benefit of all beings.
For the benefit of all beings.
With body, speech and mind.
With body, speech and mind.
We dedicate this retreat.
We dedicate this retreat.
Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakya Muni Swaha. 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 Shak.